Before I begin, let me say a show of hands. How many guys like cheeseburgers? How many of you guys would like to eat cheeseburgers until eternity? Not as much. Death is the main thing that prevents that from happening to you. But imagine a technology that would allow you to escape death. Now imagine all the many ramifications that would occur from that technology. It is my belief that immortality would ultimately better our society, although a lot of people's minds just scream no when human immortality is brought up. My belief that immortality would help us increase our scientific research. It would help humans communicate as a society, and it would help us be more aware of our environment and the world that we live in. There are many methods discussed that would help us achieve immortality, although my preferred one, and the one that I'm going to talk to you about, is through a concept called mind uploading. For those who don't know, a human brain is made up of countless neurons that fire electric pulses between each other. It is these pulses that determine our thoughts and actions. For every stimulus that the mind receives through any of our senses, touch, taste, sight, any of them, it causes certain neurons of our brain to fire between each other, and those relationships are what gives us our consciousness and what pretty much makes us alive and higher animals and little bacteria and stuff. If our technology advanced high enough that we could get a computer to scan a person's brain and map out each and every neuron and all the relationships between each other, we'd be able to construct a virtual brain that reacts to stimuli the same as the original brain did. This would effectively be a copy of the person's mind, and the only resource it would require is electricity to power the computer lives in, instead of food and water and air and everything that humans and animals require to survive. Assuming the storage medium is never destroyed, as in the hard drive or the flash storage, whatever stores your brain onto, the person would be able to effectively live forever, or at least until the end of society and the universe. Here's where the religious arguments would come in, but that's not my job to tell you guys, so that's for the response argument. Now that I've explained the basic concepts to you, and you hopefully all understand it, I will move on to the benefits that this technology would grant us. Scientific research would increase exponentially. If a scientist were to live, if the consciousness of a scientist were to live in a supercomputer dedicated solely to running its brain program simulator, then he'd be able to think and manipulate data in accelerated time faster than a real life organic brain would be able to. Accelerated research would lead to a singularity, which would spawn a literally perfect society. Please don't ask me what would make the society perfect, because if we knew, we wouldn't need a singularity to achieve it. Second thing was education would be improved using the same concept as the scientific research. A child inhabits an educational simulation in accelerated time so that they could get their elementary school, middle school, high school, and even a college degree in a matter of minutes or hours, as opposed to a couple of decades. We would experience and sense and be aware of our world a lot differently than we would right now, seeing as how we live in a mechanical modular body rather than our organic one that's pretty much set in stone aside from synthetic enhancements. So you'd be able to let our visual sensors would be able to see farther into the light, like ultraviolet, infrared, and all that. Same with hearing, we'd be able to hear ultrasound. So once we achieve that sort of technology, the world would literally, well, I guess not literally, but practically become a completely different place in respect to us. Be able to silently communicate with each other as sort of telepathy with radios, which I'm sure pretty much everyone in this room uses with their cell phones and computers. It would enable a more private use of communication between each other and broader use of communication through our bodies. With use of backups of the brains, a person could revert their mind back to any state that they have saved. This could be used to reverse psychological damage, to sustain life even if the person's body is destroyed, and to archive great and famous minds like scientists and philosophers. Hopefully these points have convinced you that society would be a lot better place with immortality instead.
Yeah, the cheeseburger reference I think is a little confusing. I think your visualization's not as clear as it could be. You do state what the claim is. It's a little bit awkwardly phrased. It is a big conditional statement. You lay out the supporting structure, so there's a little bit of information there. It really seems very speculative. We need some data that shows us that the concept of mind uploading is likely or probable, that it's technologically something that is going to be occurring, or that it's being researched on right now. Otherwise, this sounds like a great philosophy class on 420 Day. You know, it's one of those things that's, you know, very, very speculative. The supporting material is, at best, you've got hypothetical examples. There's no statistical information to support the inference that you're talking about. There's no expert that you cite to suggest the likelihood of these kinds of things occurring. The factual data, you kind of describe what's going on, but again, we get no source on any of that, so I think that's really problematic. The generalizations are problematic because we are dependent on hypothetical situations, and I'm sure the respondent's going to have their own hypotheticals that are going on here. Pacing's a little bit slow. To me, it wasn't clear why at the end, when you're talking about the problems of the physical body, that all of a sudden we're going to cure these problems of the physical body. That seems to be an internal contradiction on the point, and it wasn't clear to me how you were trying to resolve it, which it seemed like you were trying to do. All right, Jen, you are up.